Ladies and gentlemen, our program will begin shortly. Please begin taking your seats. Ladies and gentlemen, our program will begin shortly. Please begin taking your seats.
to the 2020 annual meeting for the ATL Airport Chamber. My name is Artie Jones III, and I'm the Director of Economic Development for the City of College Park, as well as the Chairman of the ATL Airport Chamber. As I'm sure you can tell, this is going to be a rather different sort of annual meeting than what we've seen in years past. In light of COVID-19, to ensure the safety and well-being of so many important civic and business leaders in our chamber, we've made this year's meeting virtual. The venue isn't the only thing that has changed since I stood before you last October. Over the course of the last 7 months, our cities and our world have been rocked by a global pandemic, social injustice, unrest, political polarization, and unemployment rates that have rivaled those seen during the height of the Great Recession in 2009. But I'm not here to knock the wind out of your sails. Quite the contrary, I'm in economic development, and that is not how I roll. In my line of work, I always have an eye out for signs of promise, and while it's been rough, the cities and businesses that surround Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport are primed and ready to make a comeback. While I like to quote someone like Martin Luther King Jr. or Abraham Lincoln here, perhaps no one captured the essence of a comeback better than Mr. T when he said, "To have a comeback, you have to have a setback." We've had more than our fair share of setbacks in 2020, but I'm here to tell you, the future is very bright on the South Side, and for the members of the ATL Airport Chamber and beyond. I already mentioned that I'm always keeping an eye out for signs of promise. I am proud to share some of those signs with you today. My remarks today are entitled, "Don't Sleep on the South Side." The other day, as I was driving down Camp Creek Parkway, headed west, I witnessed 3 planes lined up behind one another in the sky about to land at Hartsfield-Jackson at the same time. While that might not sound like much to you, Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, we went from an average of 2,700 planes taking off and landing a day to just under 150 planes at what has been deemed as the world's busiest airport. The quiet around here has been deafening, and I welcome the return of the roar of the engines and of the sight of those big, beautiful steel birds rising into the air. 3 planes landing at one time shows the promise of a return to normalcy. I'm here to tell you, it was a thing of beauty. Just to think that air travel was reduced to nearly 5%, now flights are up to nearly 65%. Virtual guests, don't sleep on the South Side. Despite the pandemic, residential construction has remained hot through it all. There are several residential developments under construction in my city of College Park alone. And that doesn't even include the Diamond at College Park, the new mixed-use development in downtown College Park, which will encompass 61 units of mixed-income multifamily residential, 14 townhomes, and 18 lofts in addition to retail and entertainment space. Virtual guests, don't sleep on the South Side. In Hapeville, construction is underway on the 25-unit Village Walk townhome subdivision. Union City boasts 5 new residential developments and the continuation of 3 previously approved residential developments. And Fairburn is preparing to debut Croft House, a 290-unit multifamily development on State Route 74. Virtual guests, don't sleep on the South Side. On the commercial front, while many corporations have been pumping the brakes on large-scale growth projects, we're witnessing a steady flow in the development of smaller office buildings in College Park, ideal for companies who are running leaner and tighter these days. However, that's not the case everywhere. Porsche plans to expand its auto repair center at the North America Corporate Campus in Hapeville, creating 25 new jobs. Amazon is adding 2 new fulfillment sites in Union City, bringing the total number to 3 in that city. Fairburn has broken ground on the Bohannon Logistics Center, a 238,533 square foot industrial facility on Bohannon Road. And Home Depot will be opening one of 3 Atlanta area logistics centers in the city of East Point, representing more than a $70 million investment. That 650,000 square foot facility will bring 348 much needed jobs to the area. Don't sleep on the south side. Plans for several hotels and mixed-use developments throughout the area also show major signs of future promise. Included among them are the 320-acre 6 West mixed-use development in College Park, representing up to 6 hotels, loads of new retail, a 5K trail, office spaces, entertainment, and restaurants. You will also soon see a dual-branded Tru by Hilton and Home2 Suites hotel, as well as a Marriott Loft hotel with a full-service restaurant and retail to be found at the Gateway Center. Wake up! Don't sleep on the south side. Hapeville has a 170-room Embassy Suites hotel with 2 pools and a restaurant, as well as a 112-room Town Place Suites hotel in the works. Fairburn has big plans for 2021 with the Fairburn Festival, a mixed-use development showcasing all new restaurants and retail on State Road 74. And a new 99-room Home2 Suites by Hilton is already under construction in the city of East Point, representing a $4.4 million investment and the creation of 65 jobs. There's also the City of East Point Path, a system of bicycle and pedestrian trails that could eventually span nearly 25 miles and link into the Atlanta Beltline's southern crescent. And I haven't even mentioned the new Aldi, This Is It Barbecue, AutoZone, Casablanca Cafe, Studio Cigar Lounge, and so much more coming to the area. Don't sleep on the south side. Clearly there's a great deal to look forward to and to be hopeful about. And not in the distant future, but in the very near future. So don't forget to not sleep on the south side. We have a lot going on and we want you to feel the excitement. For even more inspiration and signs of promise, we've got a terrific lineup of guests for our 2020 ATL Airport Chamber annual meeting. So without any further ado, I'd like to turn the virtual mic over to our wonderful event sponsors at the Georgia International Convention Center, Georgia Power, and Truist Bank.
Hello, I am Mercedes Miller, the Executive Director for the Georgia International Convention Center and the Gateway Arena at College Park. We have been working hard to ensure we have policies and procedures in place to keep our visitors safe. Your safety is of the utmost importance to all of us at the GICC and the Gateway Arena. We are adhering to CDC safety guidelines and closely monitoring them for any recommended changes and protocols. We welcome you to tour our facility in person, online, or we have a new World 360 virtual tour available that you can easily find on our website. So when you're ready, we're ready, and we look forward to seeing you.
Today in America, we're waking up to a new reality. But every day, there are new heroes who inspire us. BB&T and SunTrust, together as Truist Financial, are here to help. We call it Truist Cares. Because while we may be apart for now, we'll get through this together. Find out how we're helping at truist.com/truistcares.
At Georgia Power, we believe a house is more than just a home. It's the foundation for a future. That's why our employees volunteer thousands of hours of their own time to build and repair homes with Habitat for Humanity. After all, what we do off the grid is just as important as the clean, safe, reliable, affordable energy we provide on it. And that's a different kind of energy.
Hello, and thank you for the opportunity to sponsor today's meeting. As a longtime corporate partner with the ATL Airport Chamber and the local airport community, the ABM Aviation team is excited to join you and to share a short video on the enhanced cleaning measures that we're delivering in partnership with many of our clients. Every day we're working with you, not only helping to achieve a clean, healthy, and safe travel experience, but also working to restore the confidence and trust of the traveling public. Safety seen is our mantra here at ABM, and we see a new normal emerging as travelers are expecting to see cleaning in the way that they've never seen before. With that, I invite you to be well, stay safe, and join us for a short video on how we at ABM are committed to helping the travel community do just that.
It's time to create a new normal. It's time to give people the confidence to see that their workplace is and will remain clean, healthy, and safe. Introducing ABM Enhanced Clean. Safety Seen. Safety seen at work. With beyond normal cleaning and disinfection. Safety seen all day with certified processes backed by experts in infectious disease and industrial hygiene. Safety seen everywhere. Applied consistently and frequently. All to help keep people and facilities safe. It's trusted by the largest employers in the country because it's backed by the expertise, people, and resources of ABM. Safety seen, that's Enhanced Clean.
Thank you to our sponsors.
Our first speaker this afternoon is the Honorable Vince Williams, Mayor of the City of Union City and the newly appointed President of the Georgia Municipal Association, affectionately known as Mayor President. The Honorable Mayor Vince Williams was elected in May 2013 as the 20th Mayor of the City of Union City. His leadership, commitment, and vision for the City of Union City helped to transform a dilapidated mall and revitalize it into a thriving multi-million-dollar film studio, Atlanta Metro Studios, reverse a multi-year financial deficit to an $81 million increase during his first term as mayor, all while ushering in the greatest increase of job creation in the city's history. He works tirelessly to encourage economic sustainability by fostering relationships with local businesses. In 2019, he was awarded Mayor of the Year by the Georgia Minority Business Awards, and Georgia Trend magazine honored him as one of the 100 most influential Georgians. Today, he continues to be the mayor of the City of Union City and was recently elected as the president of the Georgia Municipal Association, also known as GMA. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome the Honorable Vince Williams. How you doing, Mayor? How you doing?
I am doing fantastic, Artie. It's good to see you. Man, you're looking sharp as always. Bow tie is crisp. And you,
thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. I'm just trying to be like you. That's all.
You're too kind, Artie. You're too kind.
So you've been the president of GMA since July 2nd. So tell me, why is the work of GMA so important?
Well, Artie, I tell you, that's a great question. And to answer that question, I really want to begin making a point, that strong, vibrant cities are extremely essential in Georgia's economy and its quality of life. Cities need an organization that champions the principles of home rule and local control. We believe that for cities to truly flourish and respond to the needs and desires of their citizens, city officials should have the ability to make policy decisions with minimal interference from the state and federal government. And we know sometimes that doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. Every year, we are faced with legislation that would preempt local decision-making authority. And also, a recent example is a bill that would prohibit cities from issuing their own residential design standards. So we had to fight hard from a GMA standpoint to make sure that we were in front of all of the the legislators, to be able to share the real desire and the need for cities to make those decisions. Cities need an organization that brings city officials together and allows them to passionately speak with one another as one voice against these types of measures that have been plaguing cities for far too long. And cities also need an organization like a GMA that can equip city officials with the knowledge and skills they need to effectively carry out their day-to-day duties, and also move away from disturbing the staff from doing their duties. It is not unusual that city officials are elected with no prior public service experience, and certainly a limited understanding of the role and authority of municipal government and their duties as a mayor or a council member. So it is certainly through the association that they receive the training that is extremely essential in being a much more well-rounded leader, if you will, Artie.
Okay.
Yeah.
It sounds like GMA is somewhat of a roadmap for elected officials. If you're a well-seasoned elected official, or if you're brand new.
Exactly. GMA focuses on so many various areas, and the benefits that we get from a GMA, whether you have been in office 40 years or you have been in office 4 weeks. It's certainly important to become a member of GMA and receive those benefits. So certainly we're excited that each and every city in Georgia, 538 cities, to certainly be afforded the benefits that GMA provides each and every member, from advocacy, which first and foremost, GMA represents the interests of cities before the Georgia Assembly, and also in Washington, D.C. with the Congress administration. But also advocacy has been GMA's core mission since its creation in 1933. Another prong that GMA focuses on is its quality training. City leaders also have access to an extensive training program that is provided through a partnership with the University of Georgia's Carl Vinson Institute of Government, and it is widely regarded as the best program of its type in this country from a state league. And there are a number of services that GMA provides, a wide range of services to cities that are certainly intended to help cities operate effectively and efficiently. Also comply with appropriate laws and regulations, and save money and generate revenue. Examples of these services include legal assistance, retirement and variety in many insurance services, and low-cost equipment and bricks and mortar financing. So there are a number of things that GMA does. I could go on and on, from telecommunications, right-of-way management consulting, hotel, motel, tax recovery, a number of things, So we need a whole day to talk about all of these things, I tell you.
Yeah, it sounds like GMA does it all. You've named so many benefits. You said advocacy, education for new elected officials. Like I said, it's kind of like the playbook. If you're an elected official or if you are a local government, GMA is the place to go to get all of the information that you need to become a better city, to do the most for your constituency. So what would you consider a great example of the goals of GMA on display?
Well, presently, I can think of no greater example than the work GMA is doing in the area of equity and inclusion. We spoke a little bit about that offline. The events of this year in late spring compelled our officers, along with our director, Larry Hanson, and certainly myself as president, I got an opportunity to pretty much push my agenda, if you will. And certainly the issue with a strong statement in early June with everything that we have been seeing across this nation to show that GMA stands in solidarity in opposition to racism, violence, and acts of injustice, as well as inequity and intolerance. We have certainly committed to a number of initiatives, including a statewide town hall meeting that we held, and the creation of the commission and specific training for members and newly elected officials. We also expressed our strong support for hate crimes legislation, which was very important to all of us, and which fortunately was enacted by the General Assembly and signed into law by Governor Kemp this year. So we're excited about that. And a lot of folks ask us, why did we take that stand? We took that stand because we, as an organization, as GMA, we believe is the right organization to create opportunities for discussion among our city leaders that will lead to a better understanding of these issues and how we as city officials, employees, friends, colleagues, and human beings can make a real difference. And we have followed through on our commitments. We partnered with Georgia Public Broadcasting to provide a highly successful statewide town hall in early August, which I hope many of you got a chance to view. But if not, you can go back and get that on pay-per-view or whatever they call it, on demand. I think it's still out there. And it featured perspectives from 4 of our mayors, and it was a great conversation. It was a powerful event, which was live streamed, and then it was rebroadcast across all of the GPB networks. We've developed a new training course in partnership with the University of Georgia to give city officials the knowledge and skills they need to leverage the strength of diversity and become more inclusive leaders. Because we find in many of our communities that it's so easy for us to be exclusive, when we need to be inclusive. So certainly that's one of the things we really wanted to focus on. But as I have shared, in a number of conversations, we created a 26-member commission, and it's co-chaired by Mayor Jim Thornton of LaGrange, who is GMA's first vice president. And certainly the other co-chair is the wonderful Mayor Hardy Davis of Augusta, that includes mayors, council members, 3 appointed city staff members. The commission certainly is deals with a wide range of issues, including housing, education, public safety, criminal justice, workforce, community development, diversity, you name it, we are throwing it in the pot, to make sure we address all of those things. And so the creation of the commission was a big step and a courageous step, but as I spoke about the creation of that, but also being able to televise that with the 4 mayors, the other 2 mayors that were involved were Mayor Robert Rickard out of Macon, and also Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms out of the city of Atlanta. And we had a great conversation with those mayors, but also we had Representative Kevin Smyrie, the dean himself, who was able to chime in and support us, but also talks about his support for home rule, which was great to hear him say, because he understands local government. And then to cap that event off, we had a conversation with Ambassador Andrew Young. So there are a lot of great things that we're doing, but also those are some of the goals that GMA has on display at this very moment.
So how has collaboration played a role in GMA's effectiveness at the state and regional levels? I
would have to say, as I said earlier, GMA is revered under the Gold Dome. But when you talk about GMA understands the value of collaboration and actively seeks opportunities to work with organizations and agencies whose mission aligns with ours. Certainly the close working relationships we enjoy with our friends at ACCG, which is an association of counties of Georgia, has been mutually beneficial to cities and counties with respect to our advocacy work, because many of us know there had always been a divide between cities and counties. So we had to get to a place where we start working together, because the same people that elect the county commissioners elect the local government leaders as well, your mayors and council members. So certainly both organizations certainly fighting together under the Gold Dome, and also in Washington, and more recently in negotiating with the governor's office on the sharing of the CARES Act funding with local governments. We agree on the vast majority of issues, and certainly have certainly found that this has been extremely a windfall for counties and cities. But we agree on the vast majority of issues. And when we present a united front under that gold dome, or even in Washington, whether it be supported or opposed, we are very effective when we do it together. And I could cite many of the examples of collaboration, such as partnership with the University of Georgia to provide training, our close work with the Department of Community Affairs, DCA, on a number of programs, including the Georgia Initiative for Community Housing, which many of us have been involved in. I know College Park is endeavoring on that as well. Spoke to Mayor Broome about that, and she's excited about it. But I think it's a great opportunity for our communities to be involved in that, and our quarterly roundtable meetings with federal agencies to ensure better understanding and coordination of a variety of programs and resources provided to cities and certainly counties as well. But also, and I'll end it right here with this question. Our work with the state's regional commission is extremely beneficial, including the Atlanta Regional Commission, to promote regional cooperation among cities and counties within their respective regions.
Okay. And for our virtual audience, could you give me one example of how your city's membership with GMA has improved the opportunities for its citizens?
Well, our citizens benefit in numerous ways through the city's membership in GMA. First and foremost is the legislative advocacy that we've talked about. Obviously, the city greatly benefits from GMA's advocacy work. Without GMA taking a strong stand in support of home rule and helping to defeat legislative proposals over the years that would have taken away local autonomy, the ability of our residents to work directly with the mayor and the councils to influence policies and certainly the vision for our cities would be severely diminished. But GMA is much more than a home rule advocate, as important as that is. The association over the years has helped expand the revenue base of cities through its support of numerous measures, including the local option sales tax. And a lot of us get a little jittery when we hear that, because we know some of the battles we've gone through over the years regarding local option sales tax, and known to most of us as lost. But also SPLOST legislation. To name just two examples, just this year, GMA played a lead role in the passage of marketplace facility legislation, which now requires third-party sellers such as Amazon and the like on internet platforms to collect and remit sales taxes, to the cities that they are operating out of. It is anticipated to generate an additional $200 million to $250 million in sales taxes, with $90 million to $100 million for local governments, while leveling the playing field with bricks and mortar retailers. So certainly that's a huge asset, but it's a huge legislative advocacy ploy that certainly benefits our citizens up front and personal.
Okay. And one final question, Mayor. President Mayor, as you're affectionately called, what is the highest priority issue facing GMA today?
I tell you, I would have to say the highest, and that's really a hard question, but it's a good question. I would have to say the high priority issue facing GMA today, obviously the work we are doing in the area of equity and inclusion when we talk about today is a huge priority. And let me add that I foresee it being a major priority for years to come, because this is something that doesn't get fixed right away. The work of the commission is just laying the groundwork for the long-term sustained effort that will fully integrate into the work of the association. Another critical priority, which I can address both as president of GMA and second vice president of the National League of Cities, is to secure direct federal funding to provide the financial relief that is needed as a result of COVID-19. Municipal budgets and certainly have been severely impacted by declines in sales taxes, hotel motel taxes, and various other taxes and fees. Without federal assistance, many cities will have no choice but to cut back, on critical services and unfortunately reduce their workforce. That's something that looms over all of us. Also, we see implementation for sharing of the remainder of the state's CARES Act funding with local governments as a priority. And it's also important for the business community to understand that cuts to municipal budgets directly affect private sector activity and growth, particularly when infrastructure projects and capital expenditures are put on hold or canceled, further impacting local employment, business contracts, and overall investment in economy. Securing federal funding for needed infrastructure investment is certainly a critical priority of GMA and NLC as well. Georgia cities will need more than $11.2 billion over the next 5 years for water and sewer, transportation, public safety, and capital programs. Working to promote home rule will always be a priority. So certainly, those are the priorities that loom to the top for me and certainly for GMA. But all of us as local leaders, we've got to sing from the same hymnal.
Yes. Well, Mayor Williams, I'd like to thank you for participating in the ATL Airport Chamber's annual meeting. Thank you for your leadership and all that you do for the great state of Georgia.
Well, Artie, I want to thank you for certainly being with me today. I certainly couldn't have had a better host, but I certainly want to give a shout out to my great friend, the leader of the ATL Airport Chamber, Ms. Carmelita Scott, who is amazing. And I want you all to know whatever I can do and the city of Union City can do to continue to push the mission of ATL Airport Chamber, we are your #1 fan.
Thank you, Mayor Williams, for your leadership and all that you do for the great state of Georgia. And now it gives me great pleasure to bring into the studio co-moderator Dr. Kofi Smith, President and CEO of the Atlanta Airlines Terminal Company. Dr. Kofi Smith serves as the President and CEO of the Atlanta Airlines Terminal Company, also known as AATC. Under Dr. Smith's leadership, AATC has been recognized as one of the top 20 best places to work for medium-sized companies in the Atlanta Business Chronicle. His accolades include the Atlanta Business League's 2012 Men of Influence, 40 Under 40 list for the Atlanta Business Chronicle, and the Georgia Trend magazines. Graduate of the 2015 class of Leadership Atlanta, a proud graduate of the 2016 Regional Leadership Institute, recipient of the 100 Black Men of North Metro's Image Award and the Atlanta Business League's Trailblazer Award. Kofi sat on a research panel in Washington, D.C., evaluating the airline and airport industries under the Airport Cooperative Research Program of the Transportation Research Board and National Academies. He serves on the National Board for the National Black Child Development Institute as the board's second vice president. He also sits on the Children's Sports Network Corporate Board for the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Foundation and the Board of Directors for the City of Refuge. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Dr. Kofi Smith and giving him the virtual mic.
Hartsfield-Jackson Airport is safe, clean, and ready for you to enjoy your summer travel. It's mandatory to wear a face mask at all times while at the airport. Look for decals on the floor to help you keep a safe distance of 6 feet or more. We've also placed 300 new touchless hand sanitizers throughout the airport. For more details about the new policies to make sure the airport is safe, clean, and ready when you are, go to atl.com/ATL Strong.
John Selden is General Manager at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport. As the leader of the world's busiest and most efficient airport, John oversees airport operations as well as a multi-billion-dollar capital improvement program that will promote its growth over the next 20 years. John, who assumed his current position at ATL in October 2018, is a former Navy pilot who, among other assignments, served at the Pentagon and in Operation Desert Storm during his 20-year career. After his military retirement, John flew for American Airlines until taking his first airport management role at Republic Airport, the third busiest airport in New York State. In 2008, John joined John F. Kennedy International Airport. He rose to the position of Deputy General Manager in 2014, where he oversaw operations, maintenance, rail access, security, commercial development, and physical infrastructure investment. John's mission is to strengthen the role Hartsfield-Jackson plays as an economic catalyst for the region and gateway to the world. Accustomed to dynamic leadership challenges, John is now efficiently leading his team through a global pandemic that has impacted the aviation industry like no other crisis before. Thank you, John, for being here, my friend. The very first question that is always asked of me, is it safe to fly?
Kofi, thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to the Atlanta Airport Chamber. They're a great partner of ours, and I'm very thankful. Of course, it's safe to fly. We have 120,000 passengers today flying, and there's millions flying throughout the United States and the world. But you have to follow the CDC guidelines. You need to take the precautions to ensure that you socially distance and, most of all, wear a mask at all times. And there's no reason, if you do that, that you should not be protected and travel is safe.
Thank you so much. And John, let's talk a little bit more about the measures that the airport has taken to make it safer and cleaner for our traveling public.
Sure. It starts right from the beginning when you get to the airport. We no longer have parking, remote parking, where you have to get on a bus where you may not be able to socially distance. We have stopped all of our off-airport parking that are not within walking distance of the terminal. So that's the first step. Secondly, when you come into the facility, you will see that the facility is spotless. The airport is being cleaned. It is being deep cleaned every day, and the airport is very, very, very sterile at this point. We are using chemicals to keep it that way. We are wiping down our escalator handrails. You'll see when you first walk into the ticket counters, you'll see plexiglass installed at all of the ticket counters here to ensure that you can have a conversation with the ticket agent and not transmit the virus. Again, they are going to ask you to wear a mask. Masks are mandatory here by Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms' directive, and we strongly encourage everyone here to wear a mask. We also have 5 million that have been provided by the federal government here. We give out between 3,000 to 7,000 masks a day for free. We are also fogging our SkyTrain and our plane train to keep that as clean as possible. You'll see at the TSA checkpoint, you'll see numerous plexiglass walls in our maze that provides additional protection for where it's a little bit tight to social distance. You'll see the TSA document checkers will have a plexiglass screen. But most of all, the big choke point here at Hartsfield-Jackson is our plane train. And the plane train is a place where it's very difficult to socially distance because our arrival and departure banks come in waves. So the train is full in waves. So what we are doing is we are fogging that train throughout the night, every night. But most of all, we are recommending for our passengers to take a nice little walk through our concourse, our underground tunnel that will take you to concourses A, B, C, D, E, and possibly F. But if you're flying out of F or E, I would actually park on the international side, and you'll find all those same precautions. So we're doing a lot of great things. We've also removed a bunch of seating from our atrium to keep the crowds down in the atrium where it can get congested. So those are some of the things, but there's even more going on with the airlines. When you talk to the airline people, our partners, they're doing things at the hold rooms and boarding the plane and the jet bridges going forward, Kofi.
So John, that was a very thorough answer. And I'm going to tease apart certain components that you mentioned just to ensure that our traveling public understands all of the above and beyond actions and efforts that you and your team are taking. So let's go back to that number of 5 million masks. How are you enforcing the mask mandate at Hartsfield-Jackson?
So the enforcement is an encouragement. Everybody knows that you're not going to be able to board the plane If you're flying, when you book your ticket, it's going to tell you you're going to need to wear a mask. So what our staff is doing is we have a very large supply of them at our TSA checkpoint. Our airline partners have a supply of masks at the ticket counters, and they're going to encourage you to wear your mask. One, they're going to tell you, please, it's required. Two, it's for everyone's own good. Three, you're not going to be able to get on the plane if you don't wear it. Four, we are going to give you a mask for free. And I will tell you, Kofi, giving people and giving our passengers masks for free has probably been the saving grace here. And many people come in with a paper mask, and we give our passengers a washable, reusable cloth mask, some that you see kind of in hospital operating rooms kind of mask. And people take them and they can use them, reuse them. They're much more durable than a paper mask that might rip apart. So we, like I said, we're giving about 7,000 out a day. And we have about 15,000 going through our checkpoint on low days and 25 to 30,000 on our busy days. So we have a very high percentage of people taking us up on the free mask that's very durable and washable.
And let's talk a little bit more about those high traffic areas that you just listed, like the TSA checkpoints, the food court, the plane train, terminal seating areas. Are all of those high touch point areas, high traffic areas being sanitized on a regular basis?
Absolutely. And they're cleaning the seating 3 times a day, the escalator handrails, the elevators. We're actually fogging the trains 3 times a day. So the restrooms are being cleaned anytime there's need supplies. The intelligence, the IoT in those restrooms is sending signals to get those things serviced. It really is an ongoing effort. And you'll see our airline partners, they're actually fogging their jet bridges and areas in between flights. So it really is a concentrated effort on keeping the airport safe. And if you follow the CDC guidelines, it's certainly a great time to travel right now.
Fantastic. And you mentioned the plane train, which we know is the main artery for this perfectly operating body. It is also one of the many reasons why we have been the most efficient airport going on almost 2 decades. So let me ask a little bit more about that plane train. As it pertains to the train running more frequently to decrease the number of passengers per trip, is that one of the ways that we are able to regulate the capacity for social distancing when it comes to our plane train?
Good question, Kofi. So I would tell you we are running the plane train as if we had 310,000 passengers a day. So we are running it full out as fast as it can run with as many cars as we can get on the track. And that way, as I've said earlier, we have around 120,000 passengers. So they can actually, the headways, the time in between trains is still around 1 minute and 20 to 30 seconds. And with the reduced number of passengers, it may feel like the train is running faster, but we have it running full out with a reduced number. Normally, I would tell you if we did not have COVID and we had this reduction in passengers, we would be running the train probably every 3 minutes or 4 minutes instead of every minute and a half to provide that social distancing in the train. And once again, it's great to get a little exercise as you're connecting your flight from Concourse C to Concourse A. We highly recommend people take the walk, get on the moving sidewalks, look at the amazing artwork and art displays that you'll see, especially because right now the flights are reduced. We usually had 2,600 flights a day. We're running around 15 to 1,600. Your connection may not be as tight, so therefore you have a little extra time to take a nice stroll and socially distance as you go through our underground air transport system down there.
That's fantastic. So for all of our traveling public and our passengers, what John has just told you is that you can have the best of both worlds. If you choose to walk and have the enjoyable experience of going through our APM mall and looking at the incredible amount of artwork that Hartsfield Jackson has on display, you are welcome to do that and get your steps in. But if you so choose to get on the plane train, he and his team have gone above and beyond to ensure that you are safe and protected while riding our plane train. So John, let me ask you, due to the increased restrictions and the mandates that we have at the airport, How far in advance should I arrive at the airport before I catch my flight?
Administrator Pekowski of the TSA has said he wants the wait at the TSA checkpoints to be 9 minutes or less. And we're doing really well managing and meeting that with our partners at the TSA. They're doing a great job. I would tell you for a domestic flight, an hour and a half is more than sufficient to come in, check in. If you have to drop your bag off, hopefully you're using your phone and it's all touchless. You'll make it through the checkpoint in 10 minutes or less. And then you have plenty of time to walk to your gate because they'll board about 30 minutes prior to departure, and they'll socially distance you there in the hold room as you're waiting for your flight to board. There's plenty of room. We have about 120 of our 120 of our 340 concessions are open. All the concourses have food and drink. And you can just take your time, relax, and socially distance yourself and have a very safe journey through Hartsfield-Jackson.
John, I have to commend you and the team on being able to make such a quick pivot in the face of a pandemic that hit us like never before. No one could have anticipated it. And the airport responded very quickly from an operational standpoint. I know that you shuttered buildings. I know that we went from a 300,000 passenger volume down to somewhere around 9,000 that was in our airport. Typically moving through our checkpoints, we would have 60 to 75,000 people, and we were moving like 1,000 people through our checkpoints. So all of these operational changes that happened and that we had to endure at our airport. Let me just ask you, what has been your greatest operational challenge since the onset of the pandemic?
There's been quite a few. Yeah, quite a few. I will tell you, the first operational issue that we really had was we have a 7 million square foot terminal with 10,000 passengers in it. And how do we immediately reduce the cost of operating that large infrastructure with so few passengers? And we were down around 400 flights in the first week of April and 2,500 passengers at our checkpoint. So it was very, very dramatic drop from March 13th, where we had 70,000 passengers at our TSA checkpoint and 2,500 flights. So the first operational challenge is, what is the plan going forward? Which concourses are we going to close? How do we maintain the business and keep concessions open where we have customers? So we developed that plan right away. The second huge operational challenge was the social distancing. How do we ensure social distancing? And how do we, like the rest of the country, get the plexiglass we need, get the masks that we need, get the stickers on the ground that we need, get the staff trained to engage our customers in a way that just says, please, let's do everything we can to stop the spread of the virus, and let's take the necessary safety precautions going forward. The third operational challenge was, how do we manage the airport with a tremendous revenue drop? Because our revenue is directly related to the number of passengers that we have a day and the number of flights. So fortunately for Hartsfield-Jackson, we received $338.5 million from the federal government to sustain the operation, because the airport, whether you have one flight or 2,600 flights, needs to be open. So cargo, commerce, doctors, nurses, PPE can be moved throughout the world from Hartsfield-Jackson. So we got this money to carry us through this revenue drop, and we are using it very judiciously to continue to maintain our operation. And finally, the other really difficult operational challenge was, we decided that we needed not to have people in the building that could telework from home. So we had to come up with hundreds of computers and get people accustomed through a virtual private network to have access into our system and develop a new business paradigm so people could telework and still do business here at Hartsfield-Jackson. And we can provide the level of customer experience, which is very, very high here, without the number of staff that we normally have, but with right sizing the staff to the passenger demand and leaving all of the individuals here that can work from home out of the airport that would normally support us in our day-to-day operations and help out with customer experience. So that really was a difficult challenge, but I think we've mastered almost all of them, and we're in a very good groove here as we are slowly recovering. And we are probably up around 25,000 passengers at our checkpoint. Like I said earlier, 120,000 passengers a day. Our flights are about 60% back at 1,400 to 1,500, and our passengers are about 40% back. So we're doing really well. And if you're traveling throughout the country, you'll see a lot of the big hub airports are doing very well, but the smaller point-to-point airports are still having a difficult time.
Well, John, I want to thank you. It is very apparent the type of leadership an organization has when they're going through a pandemic, because it is a true indicator on how well the organization was led prior to the pandemic. And you and your team have done a fabulous job of getting Hartsfield-Jackson, the world's busiest and most efficient, the gateway to the world, back online. I can't thank you enough for giving us this time. Thank you for sharing all of your wisdom and allowing all of the passengers to know that if you come to Atlanta, if you fly through Atlanta, Atlanta is going above and beyond to keep you safe during this time. John, is there any last comments that you would like to share with the audience?
First, I'd like to thank you, Kofi, for partaking in this. And secondly, I'd really like to thank the Atlanta Airport Chamber for the support that they provide Hartsfield-Jackson. They're one of our key constituents and people that work with us every day. And I can't thank them enough for all they do. Thank you very much, Kofi.
John, thank you again, my friend, for sharing with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, next up, we have Mr. Ed Bastian. As CEO of Delta Airlines, Ed Bastian leads a team of 75,000 global professionals that is building the world's premier international airline, powered by a people-driven, customer-focused culture and spirit of innovation. Under Ed's leadership, Delta is transforming the air travel experience with generational investments in technology, aircraft, airport facilities, and most importantly, Delta's employees worldwide. A 20-year Delta veteran, Ed has been a critical leader in Delta's long-term strategy and champion of putting Delta's shared values of honesty, integrity, respect, perseverance, and servant leadership at the core of every decision. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the CEO of our hometown airline, Ed Bastian of Delta Airlines. So Ed, let's talk about Atlanta. How do you see Delta's hometown Atlanta market and our airport playing a role in the recovery?
Well, first of all, Kofi, thanks for inviting me to speak with you and the members of the Atlanta airport community. It's our great honor and pleasure to lead the recovery through this very, very challenging year. As you know, last year was an all-time high for the airport as well as for Delta, in terms of customers carried and revenue and cargo and all the other great things that we bring into our community. And it's our goal to take this opportunity while we're in a reset because of COVID and having to put the necessary safety precautions in place, but use the opportunity to get us not only back to where we were, but even better than where we were in many, many ways, which we can talk about. This is the crown jewel, not just for Atlanta, but for the global aviation industry. It's the busiest airport in the world. It has the best connectivity of any airport in the world. And I'm real proud that it's the home for you and me and the thousands who work here and the millions of people who call Hartsfield their hometown airport.
Ed, you mentioned safety. Let's talk a little bit about safety. Delta has invested in building itself as a thoughtful, customer-focused brand. How are you leveraging that approach during a crisis like we're facing today
And what safety measures are you putting in place to establish confidence in air travel?
Well, our goal through the pandemic is to reinstill confidence back in consumer travel, to get people back in the air. And we really want people to feel the same way they do about their health when they're on board our aircraft and traveling in the air as they do their flight safety. Flight safety is something that's our DNA. We're experts, and we go to the ultimate degree to ensure that air travel is the safest form of transportation there is in this country. And we have within us that same discipline to ensure that the public health of our customers, as well as our own employees on board our aircraft, are just as safe as their flight safety is. We've re-examined hundreds of different customer experience touch points, procedures, all designed to ensure that the safest place you can be through the pandemic, if you're going to be anywhere out in public, is aboard our aircraft and in our airports. We've redesigned the boarding process so you board from the back now rather than the front. We've blocked the middle seats. We've got HEPA filters that are the cleanest air you can breathe, cleaner than the air you and I are breathing right now, cleaner than almost any clean room environment in the same air environment filtration systems that hospitals use in their emergency rooms and their operating procedures. We've cleaned the aircraft before every single flight. We fog it down with electrostatic fogging, disinfectant, wipe down the surfaces. Our customers are telling us that the experience on board a Delta aircraft is actually better than it ever has been, and it's our goal to keep it like that.
And it does not surprise me at all that you have gone above and beyond. I've had the great pleasure of listening to you speak to our Leadership Atlanta group. I had the privilege of listening to you speak at CES, and it is very apparent that you always put people first, not just your employees, but also your passengers, as you just alluded to. You've taken a people over profits approach with decisions like blocking the middle seats and limiting the number of people on your plane. How have you been able to justify leaving behind revenue at a time like this?
Well, it's a tough decision because you're right. Financially, it's the most challenging environment the industry has ever been through. But we realize we're playing the long game. We're going to survive. We're going to get out of this. And we want people to remember how Delta took care of them during this crisis. When the pandemic began in early March, my boss, Frank Blake, who's the former chairman, CEO of Home Depot, he's currently the chairman of Delta, said to me to always remind myself, and I do, that crises don't build character, crises reveal character. And it's the character and the values of Delta that are leading all of those decision lines. And I think about that statement every single day when making decisions as to what more can we do to instill even better confidence in our customers in the safety of the experience. We know distance matters. So it's not possible to socially distant an aircraft with 6 feet apart. But when you have masks on and you're enforcing a mask policy, when you have the cleanest air that you can breathe, when you have the electrostatic fogging and the cleanliness of the surfaces monitored to the steps we are, when we're managing how you get on plane safely, you get off the plane safely without people gathering in the aisles, and doing everything you can, including blocking the middle seats, we know customers are going to remember that. And customers who already love Delta will love us that much more. And customers that are looking for what their airline is doing for them, they know Delta is going to have them at the top of their list, their safety and the priority that they place in the experience. And it's going to go a long, long way post the pandemic to ensure that we have an even more loyal and even more brand sensitive customer base than ever before.
I love the fact that you're taking the long view. And you and I both know, as leaders of an organization, communication is vital. We've seen a variety of communications from you to your customers as well as your employees. How important is communication during a crisis? And what have you been hearing from your customers throughout this pandemic?
Communications, Kofi, and you know this because you're a great communicator yourself, are vital. They're even more important when you don't have all the answers than when you do have the answers, because there's a vulnerability and an authenticity. We're going through a pandemic that this industry has never seen. There's no playbook that sat out there when we realized in early March that we had probably the crisis of our career on our hands. We didn't know, all the plays to call, but we did know that we had to get really, really close to our people. We had to put our arms around our people. We had to ensure that we were in constant contact with them, letting them know what we see, what we're doing, what we're thinking, what we're planning, what we aspire to be, and realize that our future is still out there. And we're going to get to the future maybe in a little different road and path than we were anticipating, but our future is still bright. But we got to stay focused in going backwards in time here to ensure that we have everyone's confidence in what we deliver and serve. And then we're going to be able to continue to march forward. We had to put that same confidence in our customers. We had to put the same confidence in our government agencies, our community, all the different stakeholders at Delta. We've been communicating to, keeping them posted on the journey. And, one of the things that we've learned is video technology, when forced to use it, can work. And I think it's been real important that we've been able to do these video conferences because we have no other option, but people can see us and they can talk to us and we can live through this journey together. And so that's why I say it's great to communicate like last year when we had our record-setting year, to get up with all the wonderful things that we were doing. That was easy. Okay. This is the hard part. And it's more important now when you don't have those answers, but people really feel like they're part of the solution here. They're being brought in to help solve for the answers we're looking for, and communications pull people in.
That's awesome, Ed. And you mentioned the word solutions. Let's talk about that for a second, because you had a solution and a pivot with medical partnerships and employee testing. One of the things you've communicated about is the partnership you've established with the medical community and the testing protocols you've put in place for your people. Can you talk about those partnerships, your testing strategy, and how the culmination of these things is resulting in a safer traveler experience?
Yeah, so as you know, we've kept the airport open through the crisis. We were deemed an essential service. The government required us to keep the airways open in return for the first CARES Act payment that we received. And so when we were happy to do that. But in order to keep the airways open while you're in the midst of a medical pandemic and crisis, we had to do everything we could to protect our people as we were going through it. We can do our best, as I've talked about, protecting the environment in which they work, the airport, the aircraft itself. And everything we've seen indicates we're doing a good job of keeping them safe. And their rates of infection are actually meaningfully lower than the general population is, whether it's Georgia, Atlanta, or any other big city around the country, which tells me our procedures are working. And if there was a question mark, is air travel safe or not, you'd expect our people to be getting sick on board the planes or in the airports. And the reality is they're not. Yes, we do have incidental infections, but they're coming from outside the workplace. And so what we've had to do is go through and figure out how can we test our people, how can we get ready in the event that we did have a potential outbreak, and how could we analyze and understand, bring our medical experts by our side and provide the best advice. And we reached out and we've signed a partnership with the Mayo Clinic as well as with Emory here in Atlanta, and Quest Diagnostics, the big lab testing service company, to put their arms around the 75,000 Delta people, to test all of them, to retest them, to understand where we're having issues, to look at demographics within our own employee set to see who are most vulnerable. One of the things I was most concerned at the start of the pandemic was that we get anyone that is deemed to have higher risk of mortality if they were to contract the virus out of the workplace. I wanted them home. I wanted them isolated. I wanted them safe. We took 5,000 people that either had, because of age or comorbidities, and we paid them through the period, but we said, we need you to stay home. We need you to protect yourself for the next few months while we understand and analyze. And now we're back, and we've had other options, early retirement opportunities for people that decide that it was ready for them to step aside. We had 17,000 people take early retirement a couple of months ago, which was great, and it gave them an option to close their career by saving jobs for other Delta employees. But for those that are left, we're now very focused on protecting the health and the well-being of those 75,000 that are left. And it's the testing that Mayo's doing, that Quest is doing, that Emory's doing, that's enabling us to provide that level of protection. And every time we do see a positive case come up, we go back and we understand where it came from, what was the source of the infection, and what we can learn to tell other people at Delta to avoid.
Thank you so much for that. We're going to keep our fingers crossed and definitely going to pray for this spring to be much better for us, as you've alluded. I mentioned CES in the beginning. You began 2020 with a keynote at CES, where I was fortunate to be there and hear. During that keynote, you unveiled the future of air travel with a heavy emphasis on using digital tools to improve the experience. What do you see as the future of air travel today? And how does digital technology still play a role in your vision?
I think that vision that we laid out at the start of the year at CES, Kofi, is still our vision. That's still where we're going. And if anything, we're going to get there faster because of the pandemic. Customers are going to want to move through touch-free applications, to use their digital technologies to control the experience more, to ensure the safety of the experience, and make certain that we're building all of the safety protocols into those technologies as they travel through our airports or on our planes. We're going to make sure, a big part of the CS investment, experience we made with the investments that we're making in airports. The airports of the future are being built now even faster because we're taking advantage of the fact that traffic is at a low point. And so we can accelerate development of new airports. In fact, just a couple of weeks ago, we opened up the brand new Salt Lake City airport, which is beautiful. First new airport at scale, hub airport built in our country in many, many years. And we're going to be opening up, hopefully by the end of the year, the new international facility in Seattle, and making great progress to get LAX and get LaGuardia in New York accelerated, and taking years off the development, which also saves us billions of dollars in the process as well by getting through that work faster. We're going to be modernizing our technologies, not just our digital applications, but the backbone, the infrastructure of Delta. We're going to be implementing improvements so that we're faster, speedier, more efficient adapter. And when changes come and we want to bring new applications to market and we want to move quickly, we'll have a more modern stack of technologies that we can apply. We're doing all that work now as we speak, so that when a couple of years from now, when travel is back, we're going to already be a much better, much more improved airline. The efficiency of our planes, we're getting rid of in this time frame the most inefficient aircraft we have. Any aircraft that was designed to be phased out over the next 5 years has already been phased out now. And so customers will come back to better quality aircraft, more fuel efficient aircraft to help them with the journey, improving satellite technologies on board our planes, Wi-Fi, getting that Delta concierge in their hand, which we call the Delta mobile app, that red coat in your palm is all work that we're doing. So while we may be quiet externally as we're waiting for traffic to come back, internally we're working faster than ever, getting ready. So when the time comes, we'll not only have not lost any time, we'll actually accelerate it. And I call it pulling our future forward, pulling us into that future faster. And it'll be a good outcome.
That's awesome, Ed. We all know and we've all heard the saying, never let a good pandemic pass you by. And you are definitely taking a lot of advantage of this pandemic. And as you mentioned, pulling the future, pulling us into the future. Congratulations on the Salt Lake facility and the facilities that you mentioned that are in the pipeline. If it wasn't bad enough with the pandemic hit us, we also got hit with social injustice as well. And companies and organizations are grappling with the global reckoning over social injustice and inequality. What are some of the steps you've taken at Delta, and why do you feel it's time to engage when you're also navigating the pandemic and the economic downturn?
Well, the one thing that the pandemic has done is that it's quieted us all to pay attention to the voices of all. And we've pushed a reset button on society, not just on our business in certain respect. And when we did see the killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis, and we saw the justifiable outrage and unrest that ensued in terms of the anger, the frustration of the environment, we were able to stop and pay attention and understand more what was feeding some of that frustration. And the pandemic has also had the impact of creating and really magnifying and showing the inequality at an even higher level than it normally is when we're all so busy. The people that were able to socially distance themselves in their home or their living room and get out of the workplace, and those that had to work because they needed the money, that had to serve the folks that were actually in a position that were being distant. It's just expose the inequities of society at an even higher level, and the income distribution challenges and the economic harm that was being wrought throughout the crisis. So when you put all of that together and you realize that we're here in Atlanta, we're the birthplace in our country of civil rights reform, and really a place that has always stood for doing better and likes to call itself a city too busy to hate. Well, we had to step back and say, what are we doing? And are we really paying attention to those less fortunate and what we can do? And so it caused me at Delta to understand more and spend a lot more time understanding what was behind some of the challenges we're facing, understanding what not just systemic and unconscious biases, but how the system has been made more difficult, particularly for our African American and Black colleagues, for people of color to advance within the company. We're a company that's always prided itself on diversity and inclusion and being a just company. But when you look at the facts, when you kind of dig underneath the numbers, and you realize that within the diversity umbrella, we've had a pretty good story to tell, but that also includes gender and ethnicity and race, includes a lot of things. But when you look specifically at how our Black community and our Black colleagues have been doing, we realize they've not been able to keep up at the same pace others have. And so there's something we need to do differently to be able to pull our Black colleagues forward and give them the opportunities that for whatever reason they haven't been seeing. And so we've made a commitment within a company, first of all, to be transparent about our accountability, to talk to the numbers. We've got 20% of our company, and I speak about this in personal terms because I consider all of my colleagues at Delta my family. It's personal. We got 75,000 colleagues here, and within the Black community, about 20%. 20% of the 75,000 are Black. But when you go to the leadership levels, only 7% of our top leaders are African American, and we can do better than that. And we have to find out what are the causes why we haven't been able to advance together as one whole family to be able to step forward. And we've got to be able to take the actions. But the actions start with having an honest discussion of what the issues are and the acknowledgement that we have an issue. And then you can start, this is not something that is, the pandemic is going to come and go. We're going to get through this. Unless we stop and focus on taking change and making change happen right now, we're going to miss the window. We're going to miss the opportunity, and we're going to disenfranchise our entire African American community in the construct of that. So that's why I think it's really important that we not just let the pandemic be the driver of changes in the business. We need to let the social unrest and the injustice and the voices of the disadvantaged to ring even stronger in our ears, to make the changes we need to make to have a more just future and to raise the bar for everybody to get to a better place and a better outcome.
As an African American male, I can tell you that it means so much that you have the courage to put your actions and your words, I should say, to action. It is indicative of the leadership that I've seen from you over the years, and I just want to tell you thank you. And speaking on leadership, you are one of the few people who has been an executive at Delta throughout multiple crises. How has that impacted your leadership throughout the pandemic?
Well, one of the things you learn as you go through crises, you learn to protect. You learn to protect your people. You learn to protect your customers. You learn to protect your cash, and you learn to protect your future. And they're all important, starting with our people and our customers at the top of that chain. And so all the steps we already talked about earlier about protecting the safety and re-examining the way by which we go through the travel journey with our customers as well as with our own employees to ensure their safety and their health are at the foremost of our thinking was job number one. That's why we brought in the medical experts. That's why we took 5,000 people and we made them stay home because we were worried about their health. That's why we blocked the middle seats. That's why we're investing hundreds of millions of dollars in all the safety standards and the cleaning standards and the reinvestment back into people's safety. We've raised almost $20 billion of cash as a company just this year alone to ensure that we can get through this winter, because it's going to be a long winter ahead of us. We want to make sure we got the cash to come out of this, not just to survive. We want to thrive in the long run, and we want to be positioned so when the industry is ready, when customers are ready to fly, they're ready to be on Delta, and we're ready to serve them. And then the other thing is about protecting the future. We don't want to make decisions that while we're going to be a smaller airline initially, we don't want to make any decisions now that have long-term implications that take us off our long-term journey as to where we want to be, the absolute air travel company of choice for not just America, but for the world. And I know we're on that journey. And actually this pandemic is going to help us get there faster. And it's the Delta difference, people seeing how Delta's handling this, that people are going to remember. And when people are traveling again, they're going to say, Delta's my airline. I'm going to be loyal. They stood by me in their hard times, and I'm going to stand by them when I can get back out on the road. So those are the things that I've learned from past crises. You protect your people, and you bring your people close. Communications are key. Communications are vital. It's easy when you don't have answers to want to step aside and maybe take a little bit of a bunker mindset and not come up or denial, which is even worse. We had to be very transparent and very honest, and we had to tell people what we knew. We had to tell people what we don't know. But when we did figure it out, we kept people posted along that journey. And I think the 75,000 people of Delta are with us every step of the way now. And the morale has never been higher at the company. We were able to announce just a few weeks ago, because of all the great steps the Delta people took, including 40,000 people throughout this summer that voluntarily took months and months and months off without pay because the company needed to not only save cash, but to save jobs, enabled us to get through the summer without any furloughs of any of our ground or flight attendant staff, and hopefully even our pilots. We're still working with our union on. We have another few weeks to understand that. But I think we can get through this without any furloughs. And when you think about the worst crisis in our history, to get through without having to furlough a single employee, that would be phenomenal.
Hands down, phenomenal. And it doesn't surprise me that the 40,000 who went unpaid did that action, because people follow leaders. And we all know that you yourself even sacrificed during this time of COVID. Protecting your people, protecting your passengers, protecting your cash, and protecting the future. I think that's something we will all take away from this conversation. As we go back to the passenger really quick, personally, I know you've flown throughout COVID-19. So can you share your personal experience flying now, and what people can expect who haven't traveled yet from your experience?
Yeah, I've been flying throughout. I probably have taken over 40 trips in this last 6 months. I was on a plane yesterday, last night, coming back into Atlanta. The experience is really phenomenal. It's clean, it's safe. People are wearing masks. People are very sensitive to the environment. The first time people come back into the airports, there's a little bit of apprehension. There's some anxiety, particularly amongst road warriors, the business travelers who, spend years and years of their life traveling. And now that they've taken a break, they look around and they wonder what's changed, and they're always looking to see how the procedures are being handled, and they get through the end of the journey and they tell us it's actually far better than they feared. In fact, it's better than they even imagined. One of the things that we measure at Delta and we pay close attention to is our customer surveys and customer satisfaction scores, and all our good customers know that, and they give us their feedback, and that's what we managed to. Last summer, we were doing pretty good. Our Net Promoter Score, which is the sum measure of that customer satisfaction survey, was in the low 50s for the summer, which is the best summer we ever had, best summer any airline at our scale had ever experienced. This summer that we're in now, that same number is 75. We've increased our Net Promoter Score from a 50 to a 75 in 1 year's time. And what that tells me is customers are not only appreciating the investments we're taking in them, they're ensuring that Delta is they're staying very brand loyal, and they're applauding us on the great work that our people are doing. The other thing that's been remarkable to me, Kofi, is people stop me when they see me traveling, and now you wear a mask, I can be a little more under disguise more than my normal self. But when I'm traveling and spending time, traveling, as I'm often in the back of a plane or in the airports or in crew lounges, what customers stop and they thank me. They thank me on behalf of all the Delta team for all the good work Delta's doing, because the people that have been traveling these last 6 months, a lot of them have been traveling because they've needed to. Getting to a family emergency, getting to a work site, getting to some place that it wasn't something that they were necessarily planning on doing, but were forced to have to get to because life hasn't stopped. Life has continued, and there's been funerals, and there's been emergencies, and there's been work challenges, and there's been all sorts of reasons why people travel. We like to focus on the happy reasons why people travel, to get away to the resorts. But now the people that are traveling, the people that really need to travel, and they're just so appreciative that Delta was flying throughout that experience that enabled them to be where they needed to be at a time of need. And I've had so many of those stories, and people write me letters thanking us because they know how hard it's been to fly through the face of a pandemic, to keep the airways open. And they're appreciative not just of the fact that we kept the airways open, it's with the style and the quality and the service that we've been able to do that the Delta people are renowned for. So that's been my experience. And for those of you that haven't yet been out, I'd encourage you to get out. You'll be surprised, and I tell everyone this: if you get out and you find what I'm telling you isn't the case, just send me a note and I'll refund your money, or I'll give you that plane ticket back. But I guarantee you, people are going to walk away saying, "Wow, Delta is doing what it said."
Ed, I want you to add me to that list of people who are thanking you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for taking time out to share with all of us in the traveling public on all the many steps, above and beyond steps, that you and your team at Delta have taken to keep us all safe. Personally, I would like to thank you for being the type of leader that I can look up to, admire, and follow in his footsteps, in your footsteps. My friend, thank you so much. Be blessed. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Kofi. And I want to thank you and thank your team, because what we do, we can't do without you. And the leadership at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport, from you personally, and you've been an amazing leader through these many years, and very, very honored to have worked alongside you, as well as all your teammates and the people within the Atlanta business community. You know, we know the importance of this airport. It is the economic engine, not just to our city, but to our region. And the quality and the focus in running a great operation, you know, we're there alongside you, but you're leading the charge there in Kofi. So thank you for what you've done over these many, many years of wonderful service to us as well.
Ed, thank you so much again for sharing your time with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming and giving the virtual mic to Carmelita Scott, President and CEO of the ATL Airport Chamber.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of our Board of Directors, I would like to thank all of you for your continued support of the ATL Airport Chamber by attending our annual meeting, Navigating Business and Travel in the New Normal. This heartfelt thank you goes out to our members, corporate investors, in-kind investors, event sponsors, and chamber friends. I would also like to thank today's moderators, Artie Jones III and Dr. Kofi Smith, along with our keynote speakers. We are very fortunate to have the talented leadership of Mayor Vince Williams, John Selden, and Ed Bastian, focusing on reviving the economy in the Atlanta Airport region and the Southern Crescent, in concert with ensuring that Hartsfield-Jackson and air travel are safe for the traveling public and all employees. Let's not forget the studio team. A hearty thank you to David Thornton and his team at the Boss Studio, owned by Thornton Media Group. As Artie mentioned earlier, the landscape of our annual meeting is quite different this year. The Chamber hosted a myriad of events pre-COVID-19. Many of those events and the associated revenue they generated evaporated. Due to the financial difficulties of our membership, in lieu of individual ticket sales for our membership, today we requested a donation of your choice. As many of you were able to take advantage of the Paycheck Protection Program to offset the negative financial impact of the virus, chambers of commerce and other member-driven organizations were excluded. Is a digital environment that highlights the Atlanta Airport region and Southern Crescent, fondly known as the South Side. As a Chamber of Commerce, our sole mission is to represent the interests of the business community and our constituents, while making the airport region a place to live, work, play, and prosper. We do this through our programs and collaborative partnerships. We believe this pivot is timely and essential for the continued growth and vitality of the region. Economic growth is booming and providing us with a competitive edge. So in the words of Artie Jones III, Southside, do not sleep. The Chamber is going to do some even bigger things in the new normal, and we want you right along with us. Consider playing in our annual golf tournament, Golfing with Veterans. We do not know them all, but we owe them all. Partial proceeds will benefit the Atlanta Airport USO and St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Can't play? No problem. You can contribute to the Chamber or tournament at www.airportchamber.com and click Donations. Your generosity will enable the Chamber to develop and deliver a robust suite of essential business services that fuel profitability and growth in the small business sector while supporting economic development among our constituents throughout the Atlanta Airport region and the Southern Crescent. Watch for the announcement of our International Business Expo, CEO Network, Knowledgeable Network of Women program, and helping 100 women obtain $100 million in government contracts. Again, thank you for your attendance at our virtual annual meeting, Navigating Business and Travel in the New Normal. Please remember to abide by the regulations of the new normal. Wash your hands, wear a mask, and commit to social distancing. Remember, you are special, and the ATL Airport Chamber wishes you well.